Hey guys, this is Rosgath here. I'm just making my follow-up video for the jungle in 5v5 for Vainglory here. I've covered already all the lanes as I did a couple days ago. Sorry I didn't record this video yesterday like I said I would. Turns out it's a little bit exhausting. But I will be finishing up this video here. This video is going to concern jungle picks as well as rotations. So a key here about jungles is that your jungler needs to have high sustain on your hero when you're picking a hero. Obviously, there's all the jungle heroes that are by default just there in your hero screen, because you have the different laners, junglers, and captains. But there are some heroes that are actually pretty solid junglers that are listed under the laner tab, and there are some heroes that are pretty solid laners that are listed under the jungler tab. For instance, Glaive is played frequently in lanes because he has both an escape mechanic and he can actually do a pretty good job at clearing lanes. Glaive here, though, is probably best played, in my opinion, in the jungle. But that's neither here nor there. That's focusing on heroes as opposed to the jungle. So let's continue to focus on the jungle. The jungle has the biggest emphasis of all of the positions on rotations. Rotations, if you don't catch up or you don't pick it up from the name, is all about learning how to clear your jungle creeps the fastest without having to without losing out on gold or XP. So, for instance, if I need to be able to clear my weapon camp here, because if I can't clear my weapon camp fast enough, then man, I'm gonna lose out on XP because I may not be able to help out a laner, or I may not be able to get all of my jungle camps done fast enough, or I can't one will spawn while I'm still clearing another, which is really bad. So ideally, you want to focus on heroes who have high sustain, or at the very least have reasonably repeatable burst. So, again, Glaive is a popular pick. He is, because he has high sustain, alpha, rhyme, lots of heroes that have high sustain. There are some heroes that can do well in the jungle, maybe after they hit level 2 or level 3, because they don't start off with lots of high sustain, but they do pick it up pretty quickly. So as far as rotations go, typically speaking, you're going to want to focus on the rotation of, you're going to take your weapon camp, you're going to take your gold oak, and then you're going to go to your bears over here. This is a really solid rotation of picking up these camps. It's a high gold and high XP rotation. The downside is, of course, if you don't have, say, the survivability to be able to take out those bears, you may need some assist from a captain who has something like an Iron Guard contract on them to heal you up. But this is also assuming that you're going without healing camps. Maybe you're taking a lot of damage from this gold oak and the weapon treant. Another optional rotation that you can take is to rotate down and pick up the healing camp here. Picking up the healing camp here leaves you close to your lane and gives you a good opportunity to come and gank the enemy laner here, who is already in an extended lane. And they're going to have a hard time, and this will be the easiest hero to gank for you in general. A big aspect, too, of the rotations with the junglers is figuring out who you're going to gank and who you're going to attack, because your jungler is very much the strong arm of the team. The jungler needs to be moving around, figuring out how they can put the enemy at a disadvantage. If you're not doing this, then you're really losing a lot of potential, unless you're focusing on having your jungle be your hyper carry. If your jungle is your hyper carry, then they need to focus on defending their own jungle camps via good vision. So good vision right here, which will give me vision of both these bushes. If I go in here, it'll also give me vision of all of the upper entrances to my camp. And this is a popular place to drop my cam, for a jungler because it covers the second entrance to my jungle, but it also gives my teammates some defensive vision in that they know if the enemy is hiding in the brush here. This is, in my opinion, right here, not a great placement. It's kind of a new player type placement because you're also missing out on the vision of this particular bush right here. So if you were going to place vision, I would focus it actually right where my glaive is standing right now, because this would give you vision of both the brush. Anyone who could possibly get into that brush would be seen, because either they have to go through the lane where your creeps are going to be at, or they have to go through where your cam vision is. Alright, so let's go ahead and go through a little bit more on, say, picking your rotation. So if I want to go for maybe a mid here, maybe want to cover my mid or gank my mid lane, then I would want to go through here, take my treant, and taking my weapon power treant may not always necessarily be the best option for my jungler, because sometimes taking that weapon power treant would actually be better on my bot lane, who maybe is a ranged weapon power hero who can more easily apply the slow that they get from the orb. Or maybe I am a ranged weapon power hero, or maybe I have really good closes. You just really have to judge based on who you're playing with to figure out who best would pick up the orb. And an important thing to recognize, of course, about picking up that orb is that it does increase your jungle speed. So that's also something you kind of have to factor in. So if I'm going to go for my mid lane, I'm going to grab my weapon power buff, I'm going to hit my gold oak up, I'm probably going to hit these bears. But I can actually pick up those bears a little bit later, as long as I can still clear them on time, and come here mid, maybe either come up through my jungle, cut back from my gold oak all the way up here, and if they don't have vision here, or if I can get in a good spot where they wouldn't have vision here, I can close in pretty quickly, get in, punt somebody, or do something similar, or do maybe jewel leap, or maybe just lay down lots of damage, and bam, we've got a gank in mid. If I'm looking to go to my top laner, on the other hand, I'm probably going to want to grab these bears here before going to lane, mostly because it's just a really long walk back to these bears. I'm probably not going to be able to get back to them before they would naturally respawn. So coming up through here, I'll come up, and then I can defend my laner. The downside of defending your top lane is that it's a long walk. It's going to take you some time. So honestly, that's part of the reason why the top lane is so hard off, because they have to rely on their captain or the mid laner to rotate up to them. So to provide some help, as for the jungler, it's a major inconvenience. So I would suggest, if you're going to play a jungler, focus on either ganking mid or bot, unless you can really afford to go up. You've got a good enough clear time that you can go up top. As a further addendum to the rotations and junglers, I'm also going to say it's a good idea, especially if you have good team communication, to share your creeps. Jungle creeps provide much more experience in gold than the lane creeps. So if you're going to come over and pick up this healing camp, it's definitely a good idea to ping your bot laner and say, hey, let's go get this healing camp. Or if you have voice chat, just talk to them. Or even possibly if your mid is already pretty well pushing out their lane, they've got good clear, then you can say, hey mid, let's go get the gold oak. And those are really good ways to increase your overall team gold. I don't suggest, as a general rule, picking up your teammate's crystal treant. Picking up this crystal treant here, I've seen people be like, oh no, you took my crystal treant from the jungler. Honestly, this is much better off on a mid laner. If you want to pick up a crystal treant, focus on trying to, say, going from your gold oak to pull up here and steal the enemy crystal treant if you can. And as a final note here, as far as rotations go, you need to learn when the actual camps will spawn. They spawn at set times during the match. So X minutes and so many seconds, X being, however many minutes, they'll just respawn at every certain second time during the match. So memorize when these spawns happen, and you'll have a good chance to come through and get a good rotation going. But remember, you are just as much a roamer and a team support as your captain is. You just do so in a very different way. You focus more on offense as opposed to defense like the captain would. So anyway, that's my jungle guide here. You may or may not agree with all of the suggestions and concepts here that I've presented, but I hope this can actually be helpful for you. And honestly, I wish you guys all luck, and I'll see you guys out on the rise.